Well, welcome back to Cycling Australia's coverage of the National Road Series. We've had the first stage for the women run this morning. Grace Brown was the winner there, and we're now in the middle of the men's race. They're in the Tweed Valley. It's the Battle Recharge Tour over 3 days, 4 stages. I'm joined for the running of the men's race here at the finish by Robbie Hucker, who was a regular in the National Road Series, Robbie, but now you're off overseas. We'll get into that in just a moment. But how's the form, firstly?
Yeah, it's not too bad at the moment, Scott. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a bit of a quiet time for me at the moment, so not much racing on, but enjoying being back at home nonetheless.
And enjoying getting to see this particular race, Battle Recharge. It's a tough one. It's up in the Tweed Valley. And the winner last year was Brendan Davids, who was a bit of a sensation. He came across from South Africa and went straight into his first National Road Series race, which was the Battle Recharge last year. Absolutely smashed the field, and he's one of the hot favourites to try and do it again. He switched teams from Oliver's Real Food Racing from last year to Bennelong Swiss Wellness this year, and we caught up to him before the start.
Yeah, look, I'm feeling pretty good. We've just come off a pretty solid European block of racing, and all the guys are really motivated. Obviously leading the NRS series with Nathan Elliott. Obviously he's not here, but yeah, I think the guys are looking to put in a really good show, and yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's about us stacking the top 10 with as many guys as we can, and yeah, making sure that we get those valuable points.
Epic memories last year with you with stage 3, winning in that hot weather and by 6 minutes. We're going to see any of that out there today?
I think tomorrow's probably more sort of suited to that with a hard finish. But
How was it?
Yeah, I think it just depends how it goes, how the racing plays out today and how the other teams race it. I think we've got all our bases covered. We've got some solid sprinters and we've got some sort of real GC ambitions too, with a couple of our guys and myself included. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think it all depends how it plans out on the road. And yeah, like I said, the guys are really motivated, and I think yeah, the racing's going to be pretty hot from the start, particularly racing into the circuit. So yeah, looking forward to it. And
how do you think that? Just quickly take us through the stage. How do you think it will unfold?
I think a lot of early attacks are going to be going off, particularly with the fact that the road race is first this year. So guys are going to want to be getting into the break and hopefully hoping something comes across at a later stage. And I think it'll be a bit of a race of attrition. There's no real major climbs on the circuit, but I think 3 or 4 laps in, if it's been raced hard, it's going to blow the race to pieces.
Awesome. Well, good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, roll away.
Towards Murwillumbah, and just south of Murwillumbah they have the Stoker's Loop that they do 5 times. They're on the last of those loops now, so hopefully they'll be within range and we'll get some signal pretty soon. There's Mount Morning in the background. Now, Bennelong Swiss Wellness, Robbie, we just heard then from Brendan Davids. First stint last year was with Oliver's Real Food Racing. Come across to the team that you were a member of as well, and they do really seem to be well stacked once again with really dominant riders for the National Road Series.
Yeah, that's right. Like one of the strongest riders last year in the NRS, Brendan, and now with Bennelong Swiss Wellness cycling team, arguably the strongest team in the NRS. So that's definitely a hard combination to beat.
Arguably, yeah, but they've been dominant for the last decade, you know, pretty much, and they keep buying the best riders from each year, so they really do stack that the team back up well and truly. Now, the overall standings for the men, they have had one race already this year in the National Road Series. Of course, that was the Grafton to Inverell. Seems like a long time ago now, but the One Day Classic, one of the toughest races in Australia, and well, that was won by Bennelong Swiss Wellness, Nathan Elliott, and Raf Feinstein 2-up sprint in the end, and I think everybody had their money on Raf Feinstein because he's a quick sprinter to get the better of Nathan Elliott, but Nathan, the courage at the end of a very long race, was able to get over the top. He won the race. That's your overall top 10 in the overall standings, but it's of course the top 10 from that particular race itself. So it was a pretty impressive effort from Nathan Elliott to win that race. And then the team's classification, once again, out in front, Bennelong, Swiss Wellness after the Grafton to Inverell. But there's some other teams really showing now. They're starting to get some different combinations happening and some good young riders coming through, Robbie.
Yeah, that's right. The NRS is it's really picked up the last few years, I think. Like you'll see now a lot of continental teams now going to Asia and racing in Europe, and they're doing well. They're not just making up numbers. They're actually getting results as well. So it's great to see.
A lot of teams, a lot of riders, both men's and women's, that have really been travelling, haven't they? And if it's not the teams going to Asia or to Europe or to America, with the women in particular, a lot of the individuals going over to get some racing as well, and the criteriums in the US in particular.
Yeah, that's right. You see it more and more nowadays. It's good if they can't do it here in Australia, they go and make the most of it wherever they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we still haven't got that live pictures coming through. The Tweed Valley itself is very hilly in the foothills of Mount Warning, so it's very difficult to get a signal out. But we can tell you that out on the stage, there's been plenty of action, and this is the valley itself. Beautiful, the Tweed River that runs through it. Really is a beautiful place to go and ride a bike, that's for sure. And the weather at the moment, it's heating up at the moment this time of year. And if you're in Victoria or any of the southern states, well, get yourself up to the Tweed Valley. Great place to go for a bike ride.
It would be, yeah.
Or a kayak or a canoe.
Yeah, whatever you like. Looks like it's got just about everything.
Well, we know that there was plenty of attacks nice and early on. 130-kilometre stage, as I said. There were 2 intermediate sprints, 3 King of the Mountains on the 5 laps that they did. Not really big hills, but just consistent. Lots of rollers in it. And there was a 3-man break that went away which included Tom Robinson, Aidan Tuvey and Ryan Kavanagh. Now, Tom Robinson has been dropped from that group, so it's only Tuvey, rides for the Bennelong Swiss Wellness team, and Ryan Kavanagh, who's entered as an individual, but he rides for the St George Continental team. Those 2 riders, the 2 New South Welshmen, are off the front together now. And the last report we had, they were out at about 2.5 minutes out in front. Hovered at around a minute for a long time, and then they seemed to really just break the back of the peloton. It blew out to 2.5 minutes, and there has been on the last of the 5 loops around through Stoker's Loop a bit of a separation from back in the main field, and 9 riders have got themselves just off the front of the peloton. But I tell you what, Tuvey and Kavanagh, not that far to go. We're looking at about 25, 30 kilometres to go at the moment, and they look pretty strong. Yeah,
obviously they've worked well together throughout the first stage here. 2 very strong riders. Kavanagh showed last season in the NRS that when he does come out to race, he does mean business and comes with good form and good condition. And it looks like he's done exactly that with this race.
Absolutely. So 4 stages for both the men and the women at the Battle Recharge Tour this year over 3 days. So 2 road stages to start things off. Then is a time trial and a criterium. Now we did see the women race first thing this morning for stage 1. They had an 88-kilometre stage, and Grace Brown took that one out. And the first results that we put up after the end of that stage had her winning by 15 seconds. But when we got the official timing through, it was 40 seconds. She really did come home the last couple of kilometres and fresh off racing in Europe. Just to show, look, that 40 seconds ahead of Georgia Whitehouse, and then Lebdev 40 seconds as well. There were 11 riders in that group behind chasing, and Grace Brown from Holden Gusto just so strong, powering away.
Strong solo victory there.
Yeah. And good names in amongst that mix there as well. But look, obviously the advantage of coming straight out of Europe, being a part of a European racing program, back to this particular tour, she's showing good form. Yeah,
you certainly have an advantage coming with more racing in your legs to people that don't race so much. You have a slight advantage, but it looks like with only about 11 girls in the front split there, it looks like it's similar to what we're seeing in the men's race now. More of a selection in the result in the stages. So, it's definitely getting to the pointy end of the race now.
And different circuits. For the women, they had 2 44-kilometre laps. They'll do the same course tomorrow, but in the opposite direction, which does then finish with a really nasty hill right before the finish, which is we saw Lucy Kennedy go for the overall victory after attacking solo there last year for the women's race. For the men, they've had a different circuit today. We're hoping to get some of those pictures coming through very soon. But at the moment, it looks as if it's those 2 guys out in front, Tuvey and Kavanagh, that may be able to steal the stage 1. big, strong group that's trying to close things down behind. But maybe in both men's and women's, stage one might be the end of it. They may be able to, Grace Brown and either Tuvey or Kavanagh may be able to take it all the way to the finish.
Yeah, it's looking like that with big time gaps. It'll be interesting to see if that group of 9 is still away and still working well together. And I think Bennelong now would have 3 riders in that front group, which makes it really hard. I saw Raph Reinstein was also in the front group, a very dangerous rider, and always makes the most of any opportunity he gets. A fast finisher as well, so it could be an interesting finish.
Yep, a few of the other riders that are out there. Tim Rowe is in that second group. Brendan Davidson. Here's some live images here. So here are our 2 riders out in front. Aidan Tuvey from the Bennelong Swiss Wellness team in second position there, and riding as an individual, but in his St George Continental team colours here at the Battle Recharge is Ryan Kavanagh. So 2 very strong riders that all reports are that they've been working very well together since they dropped Tom Robinson on the last King of the Mountain point, and they're now heading their way back towards Tealgum and the stage finish for stage number 1 of the Battle Recharge. Good lumpy roads too, nice training roads, but if you're not on good form, this is not a happy place to be.
Yeah, that's right. It definitely lends itself to more of the breakaway type riders. Kavanagh obviously he's entered as an individual, so this is a perfect situation for him, and with one of with Aidan Tuvey with the strongest team as well, so he's away with probably the best scenario he can. So 2 very strong riders working well together.
Well, Tuvey, 22 years of age, has been a part of the New South Wales Institute of Sport. I know Brad McGee, who runs that program, said big things for Aidan Tuvey in the future. Really has shown to be someone that might be able to go all the way into the professional ranks, but at the age of 22 now, and you've been through this situation yourself, haven't you? The riders are so desperate to be identified by the end of the under-23 racing out of fear of not getting a professional contract.
Yeah, that's right. It can be pretty tough, not knowing what you're going to do, or you got to really show yourself at a young age now. I think there's more and more professionals going pro at a younger age, so he's definitely a great rider.
We've got about 25 kilometres remaining for Tuvey and Kavanagh out in front. And we only have the 1 camera motorbike out on the course, so we won't be able to see much of the chasing group. There was 2.5 minutes was the last report we had, and now 25 kilometres remaining for these 2 out in front. You can see working really well together as well, both looking nice and comfortable on the bike as well. Kavanagh just sitting on the front now, putting something back into the pockets there. Running the skin suit, I think. Is that the skin suit?
Yeah,
I can see.
Looks to be, yeah. Yep.
I'm old school. I've still struggled with the whole skin suit thing. I understand why. It's just faster, but I still like a jersey and shorts.
Yeah, just the feel of it. I think that's probably why most people wear it now. It's just gives you that little bit more motivation. And
I'll stay with the old school. I'm sure there are people out there listening thinking, you can't wear a skin suit on the road. But that's the thing.
Yeah, that's right. I'm still old school. I still like the Nixon jersey. So, yeah.
It's something that really has changed, isn't it? It just absolutely makes sense. You do it for a time trial because you want to go fast and be aero, yet road stages of anything up to 250 kilometres in length. Obviously, the advantage of having more aero on your bike and on your body is far greater in a road stage than it can be in a time trial anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, obviously, the other big time trial that we're looking forward to is coming up at the Tour de France, so we're looking forward to seeing how that goes. Geraint Thomas is still in the yellow jersey. I'm sure everyone's been watching that. Absolutely sensational. Do you think Thomas can hold off Tom Dumoulin in this final time trial?
Yeah, I think he can. I think he's saved enough energy throughout the tour, and I think when it comes time to put in the final effort to win the tour, I think he's more than capable.
You throw in Primoz Roglic, Chris Froome, you've got probably your best 4 time trialers in the race in the top 4 positions coming into the still one big mountain stage to come in tonight's stage of the Tour de France, but they'll get through that unscathed. My prediction, Primoz Roglic up onto the podium for 3rd, get the better of Chris Froome in this final time trial, we'll see.
Yeah, you could be right there, I think.
Well, 2 leaders with a significant lead now, a gap back to the chasing group, and there was a lot of action the last time they went round Stoker's Loop. And the KOMs were being picked up by Kavanagh. He's picked up all 3 of the KOMs along the way. Tuvey had picked up the sprints as well.
Could be an interesting finish here, Scott, if these 2 stay away. I couldn't really pick one or the other. They're both fast sprinters, very similar riders. They even look the same on the bike. I'd imagine that the group behind, that was 9 riders, had 2 Bennelong Swiss Wellness riders amongst it. They wouldn't be riding, of course, if they've got Tuvey up the road.
Yeah, the tactics that are out to play. Such a strong squad, the Bennelong Swiss Wellness team. They really have dominated the National Road Series for the last decade in all their different variations of sponsorships and jerseys. I'm just hearing now that the breakaway group is actually starting to be brought back by that chasing group. 52 seconds is the last time gap. It was out at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. 7 riders now chasing. So a couple of riders been dropped from that chasing group. And it was a really good mix of teams that's in that chase group. We do have the 2 riders from Bennelong Swiss Wellness there in Tim Rowe and Brendan David. So obviously they'd be sitting on. 5 riders sounds like will be swapping off trying to close this down. And the gap is now down under 1 minute with around 25 kilometres to go.
Yeah, you can see here Kavanagh's really pushing it. This is obviously the best scenario for him. But after a long day in the saddle, you can see now that group of 7 is really making inroads on the time gap.
Really nice part of the course here. Uphill, but very, very nice. Good training roads. Great racing roads if you're in good form. The peloton now apparently around 2 minutes behind. 50 riders left in the peloton. Started with 127 riders on the start and 50 riders in the main field now. There's Mount Warning in the distance. Extinct volcano.
Looks like here Tuvey's in a little bit of trouble here. He's been asked to do some work, but just maybe he's playing the tactical game and waiting for his 2 teammates behind. Kavanagh really digging deep here.
Been in the National Road Series for some time now, hasn't he, Ryan Kavanagh? Tuvey, the younger of the 2 riders.
See, he's not cooperating here.
Now, you're no longer in the Road Series. Robbie Hucker is joining me, Scott McGrory, for the coverage here of the National Road Series on behalf of Cycling Australia. And a lot of years spent in the National Road Series yourself, Robbie, but now off with a Japanese team with a very interesting backstory.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a change up for me this year. Like you say, I'm racing with a Japanese registered team. Team Yukio is the name of the team. It's run by a former Formula 1 driver, Yukio Katayama. So yeah, so unfortunately no National Road Series for me this year. Yeah, slightly different objectives and goals and stuff. So yeah, it's been good so far.
Well, a lot of the motorsport, whether it's MotoGP or F1 supercars here in Australia, a lot of them ride bikes. They're really into it. They don't mind getting out on the bikes, and they like that sensation of having to power the machine themselves rather than having a motor from a vehicle.
Yep.
But yeah, it really has become a big thing, obviously in F1 as well in Japan.
Yeah, I think like a lot of these sports people like that in motorsport, they need to keep fit themselves, and I think that's where the interest comes from. I know with Mr. Yukio, that's where his interest comes from. He's always been a keen cyclist himself, and now he has his own team. So yeah, it's really good.
So is that you're fallen straight into? Well, you can just see a little bit of picture breakup as they go through the forested area here at the Tweed Valley. So apologies for that, but we are using the mobile signal, so we'll just bring you as much as we possibly can. So you're following the Japanese level of respect by calling him Mr. Yukio. You're not on a first name basis yet.
No, unfortunately not. Yeah, it's a different culture, Japanese. I like it. I like the food. I like Japan itself. It's a really nice place.
And how much time have you had to spend there? So 20 kilometres to go. We were wondering exactly how far it was to go there. So 20 Ks to go for our 2 leaders. Last time gap we had was 52 seconds to 7 chasing riders, including 2 other Bennelong Swiss Wellness teammates that are in the mix in that second group. So still, it can come back very quickly at this speed. They have to keep working very well together.
Yeah, I think the cohesion's come out of these front 2. Not sure if it's fatigue or it's tactical. Obviously, with Kavanagh being off the front, it's the best scenario for him. But Tuvey with such a strong team, and any one of those guys in that team, Bennelong Swiss Wellness, could win on their own right. So they need to make the right decision and yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen now.
Well, we've had a bit of a mix of the riders, the names that are coming through that are in that chasing group. We haven't been able to confirm exactly who the 7 chasers are, apart from we do get the call of Brendan Davids and Timothy Rowe, who are certainly the 2 Bennelong Swiss Wellness riders that are in that second group. Raf Feinstein from Inform Make was in there as well. He'd certainly be one of the favourites if it was all to come back together. Very fast finisher. Connor Murtagh was another one there. New Zealander Nicholas Miller, riding for the Team McDonald's Down Under squad. His name was mentioned earlier as well as being in that chasing group. So still plenty of good riders trying to get across to these 2.
Yeah.
So what's been the biggest thing in terms of culture with Japan, being in Japan and training? Where do you stay when you go over there?
Yeah, so lucky enough that the team has a couple of houses, probably an hour out of Tokyo in the hills, and it's much more quieter, and it's really good riding actually. Nice and quiet, hilly. Probably my favourite place to ride actually.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Well, if it's not the Tweed Valley, then it's Japan. We'll go and do some riding over there as well. But for the moment, the boys aren't thinking about international trips. They're just trying to get to this finish line here in Tyalgum. Grace Brown, winner of Stage 1 for the women this morning, comfortably 40 seconds ahead of a group of 11 riders, setting herself up very well for the overall classification with 3 stages left to race for the women. Ken Tuvey or Kavanagh hold off the chasing group. No really big climbs on this particular course, but just so many of them. Lots of smaller ones, quite steep pitches, and even on this flat section here, it doesn't last that long before they get back into the roller coaster section towards the end. Grace Brown, she didn't attack on the hill. She just went on the run in the final 10 kilometres towards Tyalgum. Tomorrow, that's the really challenging stage with the big hill right before the finish. Grace didn't need that. She did it on the flats today.
Yeah, super strong ride. It's just one of those courses where I think it will just wear you down, and the people that have prepared the best and have the best condition will generally come out on top. And as you can see, it's been more of a selection than tactical stouse that's got them out the front.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we'll have to wait and see if those boys can hold off. We're inside the final 20 Ks now. Be just around 15 Ks to go here for Stage 1 of Battle Recharge in the Tweed Valley. Thanks very much to Visit New South Wales, the state government of New South Wales getting on board with the National Road Series for this particular event, and the Tweed Shire Council also having plenty of input to make sure we have an incredible race in a beautiful part of Australia. Warning signs for the boys out in front, the chase group not too far behind, Mount Warning off in the distance. They've been communicating well too, these 2 riders. They know each other very well. Forgetting about team tactics, they're just trying to get to the finish, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, working well together, and they've been out there for the majority of the day from what we've had, from information we've seen. So, yeah, certainly coming down to the pointy end of the race now.
Trying to get in some sustenance. It has been a pretty solid day, and it has warmed up quite a bit as well as the day's gone on. For everybody in the southern states of Australia, you'd be quite envious to hear that. The Tweed Valley, very nice and quite warm. Brendan Davids, last year, we saw the interview of him just before the start of the stage. 6 minutes he won Stage 3 by last year. Super hot conditions, and the field just blew apart in the temperatures, and it was an incredibly strong debut performance in the NRS for the South African. He rode the Commonwealth Games, of course, on the Gold Coast for South Africa as well. We didn't know about him until last year, and then all of a sudden he's everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. He certainly burst onto the scene. That was the first really I'd heard of him as well, from his victory last year in the Battle Recharge. So, and he's just come back from a stint in Europe as well, so he's obviously carrying some good form.
Yep. Oh, he's one of the few NRS teams that, the Bennelong Swiss Wellness is one of the few NRS teams to go to Europe this year and do a good stint. They still have some riders overseas, or are they all back in Australia now?
Yeah, I think there might be still a few over there, but yeah, they juggle it well. They obviously do the Australian racing season, Europe and Asia, so it's always, and the NRS now, so it's definitely, it's hard to manage all of them.
Well, I was going to say, it is hard to manage, isn't it? Because with the limited budget, and if you only go back a couple of years, they just raced the National Road Series and that was it. which was cheaper than obviously going to Europe. But the European races, once you get there, a lot of the costs are covered anyway. So you get to a race, you're not paying for accommodation, whereas here in the National Road Series, unfortunately, they still are. So sometimes the budgets here are probably more than what you need overseas.
That's right, yeah. And you see more and more now the NRS teams and the Australian continental teams are overseas racing now. So I know Inform Make have just done a stint in Belgium and had some great success there. Yep. So, and I really like the way they race together. It's always a team effort. Certainly some strong individuals in that team, but they really come together and race well as a team.
And developed so many riders into the next level, going to the professional ranks, which is what they're all about. That is their ethos. That's their mission statement, is to try and develop riders to the professional ranks, and they've done that very well over the years. That combined with our national under-23 program in its different names over the previous years. At the moment, it's developed into the Mitchelton Bike Exchange team, the under-23s, but those two programs have certainly been the most successful developers of talent into the World Tour and the professional ranks. And it always comes the question, this time of year, Cadel Evans is 7 years today, I think it was, since he won the Tour de France in 2011. We were hoping Richie Porte was going to get up there this time, crashed out 2 years in a row. Is Richie going to be the man, you think? Can he do it next year? Or is there another young guy that's coming through that may actually get up on the podium in the Tour de France?
Yeah, I think Richie can. He just needs luck, I think. Well, he doesn't need bad luck. Yeah. He just can't seem to take a trick.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. What about someone that came through the National Road Series, Jack Haig? He's perhaps the next one. I'm not sure. What do you think? There's Chris Hamilton is another one, another Bendigo friend of both of the Bendigo boys.
Yeah, that's right. Look, there's so many. Ben O'Connor, there's just it just seems to be happening more and more now. I think Australian cycling's in it's a bit of a boom at the moment, certainly with World Tour riders.
Back to our two leaders. So a little bit of a break up, but back into the valley now, so the signal's picking up. Didn't last very long, though. They're going a little bit faster than that at the moment, trying to hold off the chasing group. Well, the gap is just starting to come out. 15 kilometres to go, and I've just had a message come through. 1 minute, 10 seconds now to that group. So the 5 of the 7 that are not represented in the not represented in the front. So the 5 riders behind chasing with the 2 passengers from Bennelong Swiss Wellness, maybe starting to argue a little bit, because they came down to 52 seconds. Now it's out to 1 minute 10. So there's a chance. I thought that Tuvey and Kavanagh were going to get caught, but they might be able to hold on.
Yeah, it looks like now the time gap's it's going back out the other way, which, like you said, would suggest that they're not cooperating as well as they should be. Yeah, it's going to be a close finish.
What do you do in a situation like that? You're in that back group and someone starts to sit on, and you've got your 2 riders from a team that's represented out in front that, rightfully so, is not going to try and help. But what are you saying? You get aggressive with the boys, or you try to... What do you do? How do you get them to work?
Yeah, look, it's always frustrating, especially when there's teammates of a rider in front, because they're not going to work. And then the harder you work to try and catch them, they get an easy ride, and then it's just compounded. So, yeah, look... But the race is in front now. It's still 1 minute and 10 up the road. So the main objective is to try and catch these 2 guys in front. Otherwise, the tour's gone. They've still got 1 minute.
Well, the main peloton, they're 2 minutes behind, so they're well and truly out of it inside the last 15 kilometres now. And Chase Group 7 riders that has just gone over 1 minute behind. So they were closing things down back to 52 seconds. Now it's gone out to around 1 minute and 10. So the 2 guys, Tuvey and Kavanagh, they have a chance to try and hold on. It's reasonably flat on the way in. There's just a couple of rollers, so if they can just keep maintaining this nice pairing, the combination that's working so well together, there is a really good chance that they can get to Tayalgum and take out stage 1 of Battle Recharge. Now, probably can give you a reminder of what the point standing is for the overall classification for the men in the National Road Series after the first of the series this year, which was, of course, the Grafton to Inverell. Some say the hardest one-day race in Australia. Melbourne to Warrnambool, perhaps the most prestigious, but I would say that the Grafton Inverell is the most difficult because of the terrain, and that's why Nathan Elliott, who won the race, sits out on front. Who's not here. He's not here defending his overall lead in the National Road Series, but Nathan Elliott, if he really chooses to focus on the NRS, then I think he could take it all the way right through and win the overall crown, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. Nathan's really showed himself as the best long one-day race rider in Australia. He's won the Melbourne to Warrnambool twice. Now with the Grafton Inverell, he's such a hard rider to beat in those races.
He's picking the big ones, isn't he? Just picking off the big ones. 2 times the Melbourne to Warrnambool and now this. So Raf Reinstein, now German. He won the German hill climb championship last year as well. He was second. Cameron Scott third. So the ex-track sprinter as a junior. Also won a stage of the Tour of Qinghai Lake yesterday in China. So that was a fantastic win for him. That's a really difficult race. We've both ridden that one before. Super high altitudes and tough.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, massive win for him. 2-point HC race. So it's and that ACA Cycling Academy from Sunshine Coast. I've raced them a few times in Asia this year, and they're a really strong team. I've been really impressed with them so far.
Well, they've got, along with Cameron Scott, who's part of the track endurance squad for the Australian cycling team, they have several of those riders, Kel O'Brien, Sam Welsford, so they've been able to absorb some of those track riders, and the national coach for the track program, Tim Decker, is working closely with that continental team to make sure that the trackies get the development they need to come back to the track and hopefully win gold for us.
Yeah, that's right. I think the first time I saw them was Tour of Gippsland last year in the NRS, and Welsford, I think, nearly won every stage. Like, he's such a good rider, and they race so well together as a team.
A lot of criteriums there, weren't there? So you put in, well, now they're world record holders from the team pursuit. You throw them into criteriums and the lead outs and the power they have in the sprint. It was quite impressive to see those guys go through.
That's right. Yeah. They are very, very dominant performance.
Yeah, not bad in the individual pursuit, time trial as well. Sam Welsford, certainly a superstar, I'd say, of the future, but he's already a world record holder and world champion and now Commonwealth champion. Hopefully in the very short future, he can be an Olympic champion as well with the team pursuit squad. Now, I am hearing actually a little bit of goss from behind the scenes. I had a friend shoot me through a message a couple of nights ago that talking about the Olympics and Tokyo on the track in particular, Mark Cavendish is going to be changing teams to Aqua Blue. So this is all off the record, of course, just between you and I. Going to Aqua Blue, bringing Deloitte from the Dimension Data team as a sponsor with him across to Aqua Blue, and focusing on Tokyo Olympics, trying to win the Omnium and the Madison. So we'll see how we go. Hopefully it's not true and the Australians don't have to compete against Mark Cavendish in Tokyo.
Yeah.
It'll be a big challenge, though. Like, he obviously did that for Rio. He came back for the Rio Olympics and finished up there in the medals, silver medal in the Omnium overall. To do it again as he's getting older and older, it'd be extraordinary. It just shows how much of a talent he really is.
Yeah, that's right. If someone can do that, it's definitely someone like Mark Cavendish. Maybe that's why he's hasn't been performing so well on the road.
Yeah.
He's focusing on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously there's a bit of a picture signal loss at the moment, but while there is a bit of a signal loss, I might be able to talk a little bit about some of the programs that Cycling Australia are bringing out, and the Let's Ride hype is one of those programs that really is getting the word about cycling and getting it out there to everybody. As soon as we do get a signal come back through again, we'll come straight back to the racing.
Learning to ride is a rite of passage, but learning to ride safely is a skill that our children need to be taught as they grow and gain independence. With 1.9 million Australian kids riding their bikes every week, Cycling Australia has introduced a national junior riding program called Let's Ride that teaches children how to ride safely.
I just like getting outdoors and just having fun, and for me a bike is the best way for doing that.
It's teaching me how to be a better bike rider.
The best thing is that I've learnt more skills and I'm becoming a better rider.
I like the way it feels when you're going fast and like the wind in your face, and I like the way how it's fun but it's good for you at the same time.
I like having the practicing for like the slow race, and I like doing all the courses, and it's really fun.
From what I've seen, it'll boost his confidence on the bike, and that's going to be a good thing if he gets out on the road and what have you in the future, and I hope he does.
Let's Ride, great initiative. Check it out. Let's get those kids back on bikes. I know that school down the road from where I live in Bendigo, full of bikes. The school where my daughter goes to, hardly any bikes at all, and that's certainly very different from back in the day when I was riding. Now, race update, we've just gone past 12 kilometres to go. Gap is 1 minute and 10 seconds to the two riders out in front, Ryan Kavanagh and Aidan Tuvey, but there is a bit of a chase on from behind. Several teams in the mix trying to bring this group back, including the Indonesian team that is here as well. They've got a limited number of riders, only 4 riders on the start list, but obviously showing some good form to be in that chasing group and trying to bring this one back together. So it does look 1 minute and 10 seconds with 12k to go. They should be able to hold on.
Yeah, you'd suggest if they were going to catch them, they probably would have by now. Yeah, so it looks like the two will stay away for the win.
Yep, big one. So Grace Brown won the women's stage this morning, riding for the Gusto Holden team. Let's wait and see if it's Tuvey or Kavanagh that picks up stage 1 for the men. 130 kilometres they had, 5 laps of Stoker's Loop circuit, and then back towards Tyalgum now, just hitting 10 kilometres to go. Still, obviously, we don't have the signal. So until that signal comes back, let's have a look at the She Rides program.
I joined the She Rides program to improve my physical and mental health. Since completing She Rides, my fitness has just gone up and up, and I have more energy during the day. I'm also finally overcoming depression I've been suffering for the past 3 years.
Before completing the She Rides program, I hadn't ridden a mountain bike for 6 years. I had 2 small children and didn't have any like-minded friends to ride with. Since completing the program, I've now got a great bunch of friends to ride with and the confidence to get back out on the trails.
I've not done a lot of mountain biking in the past, so joining the She Rides program for me was about freedom from my role as a mother, freedom from my role as a wife. When I'm out on the track, it's just me and my bike, and I love it.
She Rides is an introductory riding program for women to help them get fit, learn some skills, and join other like-minded women in a bike riding community. The She Rides program runs for 8 weeks and is delivered by accredited cycling and mountain bike coaches. The program is developed off the back of findings from Cycling Australia in 2013 into women's riding habits. Women told us that they lacked the skills and confidence to simply get out on the bike, and also lacked social connection with other like-minded women to ride with. The She Rides program gives women the fitness, the friends, and the freedom to simply get out and enjoy the ride.
Get on your bike with the She Rides program and learn the skills you need to join a growing community of riders.
Go to sherides.com.au to make riding part of your everyday life.
She Rides, another fantastic program and initiative from Cycling Australia, getting the ladies out there on the bikes. Maybe the next Anna Mears is amongst this next generation that comes through the She Rides program. So we're inside 10 kilometres to go, stage 1 for the men on the Battle on the Border tour of the National Road Series, and we still have those 2 riders out in front. The gap still is hovering around 1 minute and 10 seconds. Aidan Tuvey and Ryan Kavanagh. It looks as if they're going to take it all the way to the end. But the chase group, I've got 8 names jotted down, but there's only 7. We haven't had confirmation exactly who they are, but Brendan Davids, Tim Rowe from Bennelong Swiss Wellness, riders that are in that chasing group. Raphael Freinstein from the Inform Mate team, he's chasing as well. Connor Murtagh was mentioned, Nicholas White from Oliver's Real Food Racing, Nick Miller, one of the New Zealanders, he's riding for the Team McDonald's Down Under squad, and the Indonesian rider Ayman Kahadi is in the mix as well. Jordan Schmidt from Western Australia with the VeloFit Sanic Racing men's team was also mentioned. There's 8 riders, I've told you. There is only 7, but that's pretty much the names of the guys that we know or are possibly in that chasing group behind the 2 leaders. And we are inside the final 10 kilometres to go, so we should be getting some signal pretty soon. We saw it with Grace Brown in the women's race. Definitely had her for the final 5 kilometres coming into the line in Tyalgum. So we hope to pick up the 2 boys out in front very soon. Let's predictions now, Robbie. Who's going to win a sprint out of these 2? Aidan Tuvey, Ryan Kavanagh.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Kavanagh. Even though it looks like, from what we've seen, he's done most of the work. He just looked to be in better condition, and I'll go with Kavanagh.
So perhaps doing most of the work because his form is stronger, and therefore at the end of a hard race should have that little bit extra. Slightly uphill finish as well.
Yeah, should have a bit more in the tank. I think if Tuvey was to win, it would have to be a late attack, like a 1K to go or something like that, surprise him. But I think Kavanagh should have him.
He'd have a bit of extra pressure on him too, Aidan Tuvey, riding for Bennelong Swiss Wellness, and such a strong and dominant team. If you're going to go into the breakaway, there's always that extra little bit of pressure on you that you have to deliver because you are such a strong team. You really try and have to get that stage win.
Yeah, that's right. And with the time gap now, I think it still should be about a minute. That's decisive for the tour, let alone this stage, but for the tour as a whole. It's a minute's a long time to pull back.
Let's go forward to the time trial in a couple of days' time. Between these two, who's going to be the better time trialer? We're talking about sprint now, but who's the better time trialer perhaps?
Yeah, look, I'm not sure. I think it'll be pretty close. Like, obviously, they've worked well together throughout this stage. They've both done time trials together today, so it's more about probably recovery. After a hard day like today, it's probably about who can back it up day after day.
Yeah. Oh, look, they're both in great form. Look, this is where they're racing. It's the Tweed Valley, of course. Beautiful part of the world. Fantastic place. The temperature at the moment, pristine. In the middle of winter in Australia, yet the Tweed Valley, northern New South Wales and up into southeastern Queensland, certainly great temperatures. Although I know on the Gold Coast they had some very cold minimum temperatures a few weeks ago, similar to what you see in the south of Australia. But certainly, generally, just a fantastic place to go and do anything. Ballooning, swimming, and definitely riding your bike. So Ryan Kavanagh and Aidan Tuvey, the two riders that are off the front. They'll be very, very close to the finish now, just waiting for a signal to come back through. The main peloton, by the way, there's only about 40 riders left of the 126 that took to the start line that are all still together. So a lot of riders way out the back. But the main peloton sits well over 2 minutes behind now. So all of those riders definitely out of the overall classification, certainly out of today's stage. But it's significant in that it's only 40 riders strong, the main peloton. So there's a lot of riders a long way behind.
Yeah, that's right. It will suggest that it's been a pretty hard day, whether it be the rider's condition or the temperatures, the climate, the terrain, or a combination of all.
Absolutely, yep. Still, unfortunately, no signal for you, but we have seen those two guys that are out in front, Tuvey and Kavanagh, still working well together, we assume. And as Robbie Hucker just said, perhaps Tuvey needs to get on the attack towards the end, but Kavanagh definitely looked the stronger of the two. Tuvey rolling the bigger gear as well. He really was had the big dog going, and the low cadence looked nice and comfortable on the bike. But we'll have to wait and see if he was riding too big a gear all the way through.
Yeah, that could come back to bite him. But just from the footage we did see, he was missing a few turns, and maybe he wanted to wait for his team that were chasing behind, or to get some stronger representatives up there. We'll wait and see.
Well, Tom Robinson was the other rider that was in the break earlier on. The three riders that went away. It was after the first of the King of the Mountains. Nick White picked up that first KOM. And then the three riders went off the front. Tom, unfortunately, couldn't stick with Tuvey and Kavanagh. But now we're back with live pictures. The two still out in front and looking very strong on the approach now towards the finish in Tyalgum. You can see now they're really starting to think about saving something for this finish. They're slightly backed off, just really starting to worry about who's going to be the better in the final sprint.
Kavanagh actually giving Tuvey a push there. I'm not sure what that all is about. Just giving him a bit more incentive. Come on.
Well, that's a pretty good sign for Kavanagh if he's gone to the back and wants Tuvey to do a little bit more. Just that bit of extra encouragement, but also, hey, I'm not coming through. You have to actually push on the pedals because I want you to be as tired as I am when we get to this sprint.
Yeah, that's right.
2.5 kilometres to go now. Kavanagh on the front in the black and red, the St George Continental Cycling Team colours. He's entered here at Battle Recharge as an individual. His team hasn't come. So as an individual entry, he's got himself in the winning break. Perfect situation for him. The challenge, though, if he wins the stage and then takes the overall lead, pretty hard to defend when you haven't got any teammates here to help.
Yeah, it certainly is. The only thing he'll have in his favour is maybe the time gap. He'll only be racing potentially one person versus the 7 or 8 that could have catch him. It doesn't look like they will now, but it's certainly the best situation for him. Entered as an individual, away with one other guy with a minute on the chasing group. He's certainly ridden a really good race here today.
Yep. So 7 riders sitting at around 1 minute and 10 seconds. Connor Murtagh from the Mobius Bridge Lane team is in amongst that group. Brendan Davids and Tim Rowe, teammates of Aidan Tuvey. They're in that chasing group as well. And they started to bring it down. They got it down to 52 seconds. But then I think the cohesion went out of the chasing group. Too many riders from Bennelong Swiss Wellness perhaps riding as the policeman in the second group. And then it blew out just a little bit to over a minute, 10 seconds. Haven't had an update for a little while now, but just as they were getting to 10k to go, it was 1 minute and 10 seconds. These two should be able to hold on now for the finish. Kavanagh on the front, Tuvey out of the saddle now, sitting in second position. Inside 2 kilometres to go on the approach to Tyalgum. 130 kilometres, stage 1 of the Battle Recharge. Another tough stage tomorrow, road stage, before they go into the time trial and then the final criterium. The criterium course itself has changed. It's been quite a regular crit circuit in the past, a really tough and challenging circuit, but they've changed it this year. So we'll see a different criterium that we've seen in the past at the Battle Recharge, or the Battle on the Border as it used to be known. 1k to go there. We just saw the sign. 1 more kilometre left for these two riders. They've been out there for so long today on a very challenging course. Looking for those little signs, the body language between the riders to see who's comfortably, and you could see then Kavanagh, when Tuvey moved over, definitely picked up the pace. When he came through, you could see he was certainly feeling very strong.
Yeah, I think he's feeling the best of the two, but they're both still working well. Normally, if one rider wasn't feeling so good, they'd be, with only a K to go now, they'd be sitting on, trying to save their legs, trying to maximise their sprint for the finish. But they both look like they're working really well together.
45 seconds to the chasing group, so they are starting to close it down a little bit. It'll be too little too late, though, for the 7 chasers over the Tweed River and heading into Tyalgum. So one more right-hand turn and then the final left-hander up to the finish line. So it has come down a little bit, 45 seconds now to the chase group of 7, but it is too little too late. They will be able to hold on now and go for the stage win. Second last corner, slightly downhill now to the final corner. Kavanagh on the front. Tuvey in second position. Here it is, the final corner, 400 metres up to the finish line. They've worked so well together, these two riders. And you look at the body language, you can see, well, out of the seat, Kavanagh sits back down again now. Flick of the elbow. Round the corner of the finish line, and just look, the strength, the power, what it was showing out on the line. Although he's coming towards him, Kavanagh does hold on. So your prediction was right, Robbie Hucker. Ryan Kavanagh just was the stronger of the two. They worked really well together throughout the stage, but just the stronger legs of Ryan Kavanagh to pick up the stage win. Job well done. They worked very well together. And 45 seconds, the last call we had with the 7 riders chasing them down. Some strong riders in that group. So it has come down a little bit. They did get the cohesion happening in that chase group to try and close things down. Now we'll just wait and see who comes across the line in third place. Bit of a slow motion sprint, that one though, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. After a tough day, that's probably to be expected. But what a ride by Kavanagh. Individual in the tour. Out with Tuvey from the strongest team, and still comes away with a win. That was impressive.
Well, here comes the group, the chasing group. They weren't too far behind in the end. Just trying to pick up who that was that came across the line. Very close between the two riders leading the 7 across.
Freienstein and Nick White, I think that might have been there, Scott. Yeah.
It was the white colours of Inform Make? It certainly was. Raf Freienstein. He would have been the one you would have predicted to go for the win. Very fast and rapid, Raf Freienstein. So on the outside there, in the white colours, the German. Definitely Raf Freienstein. Inform Mate comes across to pick up third on the stage. Around about 45 seconds or so behind the two guys out in front. But it was Ryan Kavanagh picking up the stage win ahead of Aidan Tuvey. Raphael Freienstein from Germany comes across in third. And wow, what a sorting out of the overall classification on stage 1. They're all talking about it being a challenging stage, but not any massive big climbs. But the damage was certainly done. And you can see here, pretty much a slow motion sprint. But the stronger legs of Ryan Kavanagh on day 1, after a very difficult day in the saddle, comes away with the stage win, and he'll be the first overall leader of the tour. He'll be feeling very isolated on stage 2. The second road stage as an individual. What do you do in a situation like that? Do you just follow Tuvi everywhere you go? And if someone else goes up the road from Bennelong, well, you just have to have some luck on your side, perhaps.
Yeah, I think like you have to obviously look at Tuvi, but it's not having any teammates to chase. It's I wouldn't like to be in that situation. But look, you've got nothing to lose. You're entered as an individual. He's already had a great stage and a stage win. Yeah, so I'd look to mark out the key teams, the key riders, and just try and keep them within range.
I'll be feeling very isolated, and I'm sure the Bennelong Swiss Wellness team, as we all would, will exploit him as much as they possibly can going into the very difficult stage 2. Very similar kind of conditions as well. They do have that very nasty hill towards the end of the stage. It tops out 2 kilometres from the same finish line that we had today, but 2 kilometres from the top of the final KOM, downhill run straight into town. So it's certainly a very different sprint to what we saw today. And Ryan Kavanagh is certainly going to have it. He's back up against the wall, racing against all those other teams in the National Road Series for Stage 2 here at the Battle Recharge. What a great performance, though, from both of those riders to stay away from the chasing group of 7. And the rest of the peloton, look, we can still see the gap as it really blown out to everybody else left in the race. There is now 9 riders left in this race in terms of the overall classification.
Yeah, that will work in Kavanagh's favour. Obviously, with now the peloton still haven't come across the line, Kavanagh really only has to watch those guys in the front group now. So that makes defending the jersey a little bit easier, and with the course being a little bit harder tomorrow as well, it will make it a little bit more selective. So it'll be more about the stronger guys coming to the front versus tactics.
The challenge will be an early breakaway group with one of those strong guys in there, perhaps. Yeah, look at all the other teams that didn't represent today will certainly go on the attack as well, nice and early on. But Bennelong Swiss Wellness, while they don't have the overall race leads, we'll wait for confirmation because the time gaps, the time sprints, bonus sprints that were out along the road as well. We had the intermediate sprints that we know Aidan Tuvi went for, and there are 3, 2 and 1 seconds up for grabs on all of those. But we know Kavanagh, if he finished 2nd or 3rd, he's only going to lose 1 or 2 seconds. Then you had 6, 4, 3, 2 and 1 for the stage place as well. So we'll just wait to see what the official overall standings are between Kavanagh and Tuvi. But yeah, certainly looking forward to an interesting stage 2. Bennelong Swiss Wellness with 3 riders now in the top 9 overall. And we've seen that so many times in the past. They've got so much depth in that team. And you've been a part of that. You've exploited the depth of strength in that particular squad in the past.
Yeah, that's right. It's the team's filled with strong individuals, but when you come together and race as a team, it makes it a very hard combination to beat.
Well, it came down to 45 seconds, but then went out slightly once again, almost to 1 minute. So Kavanagh picks up the stage, 6-second time bonus for first, Tuvi in second, and then 57 seconds back to Raf Reinstein and Nick White. You called it correctly across the line, Robbie. And that is all of the riders now that are in the mix. So there were 8 riders in that chasing group. So we had reports of 7, but there were actually 8. So 57 seconds back to the chase group. Cam Roberts just in behind them as well, so just rolling in off the back there, Cam Roberts. So 9 riders, in fact, that were in that chasing group. 2 minutes and 38 seconds back to the main peloton. You know, in terms of the overall classification, it'd be extraordinary for any of them to keep themselves back up into the mix.
Yeah, that's right. With tomorrow, it could be a tough day as well. Again, obviously with Kavanagh not having teammates, it'll just be about looking to the top riders on GC and monitoring those guys. But then the time trial as well. Brendan Davies is probably one that stands out for the time trial that could be one to bring back a bit of time on Kavanagh. But yeah, fair play to Kavanagh. What a ride.
Yeah, it certainly was a top performance, and also from Aidan Tuvi as well, those 2 guys. Tom Robinson, credit to him as well. He was part of the 3-man breakaway group that spent most of the time off the front. It was only the last time up the King of the Mountain point that Tom was dropped and got absorbed back into the main field. But Ryan Kavanagh takes out stage 1 of Battle Recharge. Aidan Tuvey came across the line in second place with him, and Raf Reinstein from Inform Make came across in third place, leading the chasing group. They are the riders that everybody will be looking at as they go into stage 2 tomorrow. And you can join us again for stage 2. We'll start with the women in the morning and then run to the men a little bit after that. So keep up with all the notifications on your Facebook page to know when we're going live. And we'll try and bring as much of the closing kilometres of the race as possible. All depends on the mobile signal within the Tweed Valley. And also you can follow it all on Twitter, National Road Series Twitter account, so at National Road Series, and you get all the Twitter updates throughout the stage as well. Thanks to you, Robbie, for coming in, and looking forward to having another chat tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Probably won't get to do much training now because I've dragged him into the commentary booth, but we'll get your training done in the morning and then come in the afternoon. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We're looking forward to seeing you for stage 2.